organization could have, which is your people. And a third webinar will also focus on the marketing aspect. So we do know that it's the people who runs a business. And it's the people who comes up with all the creative initiatives. And it's the people who can decide the success and the failure, both of an organization, as we drive through a very crisis or during a crisis situation, or even during a well-performing economic situation. So this is the reason why we think that HR, the aspect of people management, is something that all leaders and any professional should pay attention to, no matter whether it's about a small scale business, a large scale business, or a medium scale business, whether you're serving to a local market or an international market. And that is how the people component of a business becomes very impactful. And keeping this in mind, building the right attitudes, the right behaviors of the employees, starting from the point of attracting them and to retaining them, is also important to fit into the right organizational cultures that performs at a very high performing objective. So in order to share this knowledge with our students, as well as all the externals that are joining with us today, whereas we also believe that the research that we do in academia has to have a major impact and contribute to the performance of the industries. So we take the initiative of inviting all our panelists from the industry so that we build that the academia as well as the industry. Our research contributes to solve the industry is currently faced with, or add more value to enhance the performance of the industry as well. So with this objective, thank you very much for joining with us today. And I'm sure there will be immense knowledge shared, practical knowledge shared, because we have practitioners in this forum today, and our students as well as our audience will gain a lot of benefit out of that. So over to you, Dr. Hashan, for the moderation.
Thank you, Dr. Shamini. It was a wonderful, very brief introduction to the whole 1 hour. We are going to listen to all these practical knowledge sharing session. And she said that people factor and right behavior, right attitude, that will form a high performer. And we have all gone through this high performance element. And that's why we are here today to discuss and disseminate the information to the people who are listening. So, Sachitra, I mean, since you're head of HR of a very huge organization, HCL, Bliss of creating a diverse, flexible, and empowering culture for high performance. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Haptanch. Actually, thank you for, first of all, inviting me for this session, and a very good evening to all of you. So, in my view, high performers are those who achieve great results and those who effectively and efficiently perform, right? Now, this sounds rather theoretical, but in my view, such individuals are highly involved and highly committed to the work that they perform, as well as to the organization they are attached to. Now, back in the day, I think you and I all could relate that a reasonable compensation, good benefits were more than enough to keep anybody engaged or involved in an organization. But times have changed, and people now look for a more holistic package. Flexibility is actually a buzzword that we talk about, and learnability, and most importantly, autonomy over the work responsibilities are actually key that people look into. So actually moving a little from taking a step from the IT industry, I'm going to touch a little bit on my experience in one of my former industries, where I was attached to the apparel industry. And to me, it's one of the best examples of a high-performing culture. Now, during my time, I was inspired by a lot of individuals, and one such individual happened to be attached to the plant I was overlooking. She goes by the name of Kumari, and Kumari began her career as an assistant in the factory. Now, with the boom of the apparel industry in the 1980s, rural villages transformed into modern state-of-the-art factories. Villages and communities were empowered, as well as more opportunities were given to the people surrounding those factories. And diversity blossomed because more and more females started to join the workforce. Females such as Kumari. And also the freedom and flexibility was given to them, not just to vertically uplift themselves, but also to horizontally expand themselves. So this particular individual, Kumari, actually groomed herself so much that she elevated to the role of a deputy general manager in the factory itself. So this is actually one industry that I brought in as an example. So high performance is actually something which is grown by the particular individual as well as organizations which inculcate that. So that is my view in terms of high performing cultures.
Oh, good start, Sachitra. I mean, it's amazing. I'm coming to with regards to this high performance. Apeksha, you as a banker, you're a banker and a person with a very high energy. What's your view on a high performer or how to create a high performer? I mean, in the bliss of creating this diverse and flexible and empowering people and all that. How do you create a high performer?
Okay, Hashan, first of all, I must say that I'm privileged and honored to take part in this insightful webinar with these top corporates. And Dr. Hashan and team SLTC, thank you very much for having me here. And also, Dr. Hashan, thank you for introducing me as an energetic banker and a high performer. Yes, of course, we need extra energy to work in the banking industry today, as all of you know, because it's full of complexities right now. So since you have identified me, since you have identified me as a high performer, I'd like to do some justice to your words. So if I have time, I'll show you at the end of my briefing. If I have time, I'll show you 2 slides of mine, because it will give some insights. It will give some idea to the the viewers, who am I and how I performed in the industry as well as an individual, right? So basically, in my view, the performance is ability plus motivation with the right focus. And so who is a high performer? Generally, we can say a high performer is a person or an organization who work beyond the general expectation or beyond
Absolutely.
the normal level. Yeah. So if you take one person, so sometimes we find people with they are highly motivated, but they don't have the ability. And on the other hand, there are people with different skills, abilities, but they are not motivated to the expected level to perform a certain task. So here I'll talk about the individuals, but most of these facts are very common to organizations also. So being a high performer is a journey, I believe, and it's not a destination. And high performers, they believe in themselves. And they have a very good, fair self-assessment about themselves. And they are self-starters and self-motivated. And they are very dedicated, as Sachitra said, yes, they are very dedicated and determined and very focused. And they know how to plan things, how to prioritize things also. And I think that they are truly achievers. But it doesn't say that they win all the time. They don't afraid of being failed. That's true. And they learn from failures because they have a growth mindset. They always think, okay, it's just a failure. It's just an experience for me. And I have to move on. Yeah. And they learn from failures and they move on because of this growth mindset. And they are willing to take a calculated risk, try new things. And I think they believe in, if one door closes for them, another door will open for them. Literally, they accept things as it is, and they understand the life is full of ups and downs, twists and turns. But they know, interestingly, the most important thing is they know how to keep the momentum. So
Absolutely.
these every high performer has some common features as well as some distinct features of their own. So this is my view on high performers.
Oh, great, great. I think it encapsulated totally. I mean, it's kind of a one full package, Apeksha, you know. When you go to that next level of being a high performer, you can't turn back, right? And සමහරලාට මේ organizations වලින් rank වෙනවා මේ මූට පිස්සු කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ they behave very odd because they can't come back, right? So now the next is that the culture of the organization, right? ඒ කියන්නේ ඔය ආයතනයේ තියෙන වටපිටාව එහෙම නැත්නම් ආයතනයේ ගමන් කරන විදිය. Sampath, I think see, I mean, I know you for ages, being a very positive, being a very high performer, being a very trainer, and he's always like that. I mean, Sachitra and Apeksha and Sam, see, we all smiles from morning till evening. We have that energy levels up, but also I feel that the culture of an organization affects the high performance. Right. What's your view on that, Sampath?
Yeah. First, again, thanks so much, Ashan, for inviting me for this session. Glad to be a part of this. Yeah. So, of course, right. So let's talk about culture, right? So now there are a lot of academic definitions to this culture. I'm not going to go into that. But I'll tell you, I've heard this word during my school days or young days. I'm still young, but younger days. I'm just always wondering what is this culture is all about. So one school of thought is you talk about customs and ideas and your history and your stories and your kings and all those things are what is being taught as culture, right? So that's your first experience with this word. So I think still, if you go and check any definition, it talks about those things: your ideas, your mindsets, your stories, your history, your customs, stuff like that, and that basically shape the culture of a country, of an organization. But the other interesting part is, I don't know whether this has happened to you. So you go for this blood test and medical reports, right? Those days, and they say they take a blood test and immediately gives you a blood test, like this is your blood full count report or something like that, and then they always say, for the culture report, it takes 3 days. Go and collect it, after 3 days. And I was like talking to myself and asking my parents also, why does the culture report takes 3 days? Why can't they give it immediately? So then I went and we didn't have much, internet those days to research and all, right? So this is early, maybe late 80s or early 90s. So then I realized that, of course, the culture report is that you go and, of course, put these blood or something like that, pathogens, and you grow it for about 2 to 3 days. And then you grow it, and then you basically observe under a microscope and get into a report. I think I would like to take that from that day onwards. The moment when you say culture, I've done my MBAs to all these other, professional things. I mean, they have given all these academic reports, but what really struck me was culture is like that, that medium they use to grow, right? Of course, if you put good cells there, the good cells will grow there. If you put pathogens there, that will also grow. So it will be a toxic culture there, right? So now what then for me, I would take it as even in an organization or a country, the medium, do you have the right ingredients, right environment for whatever you want to grow? Whatever you want is very important, right? So if you want to have innovation to happen in an organization, it should have an innovation medium, right? And if you want certain other, creativity, or if you want, as others spoke about different aspects of performance, whatever you want to do, if you have the right ingredients in that culture, then it will enable for you to kind of grow and thrive. And so this has multiple factors. I'm sure in going forward, we can discuss those. But few things like your leadership, I mean, that's one of the most important parts, and your value systems, and your basically tools, your structure, all these things adds to it, right? But we will talk going forward, Harshan, more
Sure.
about it. But the short terms is what I said: an environment or a medium for you to grow, right, and thrive.
All right. Okay. Super. I mean, that's a good way of putting it. These culture reports and all that. Sam, you always like that. You relate something very extraordinary to get this to the head. Well, I mean, yeah, true. The culture of an organization does affect a high performance, and I mean, Sachitra, you know that, Apeksha, you know that high labor turnover due to many facts where the organization culture doesn't provide a proper background for a high performer to exist. Right now, if you look at, I mean, I have seen many high performers. Some are quiet, but they're smart workers, smart high performers. We have categories of it, So come to talk of it, we can give loads of examples. I mean, with a very quick fire, Sachitra, Sam, and Apeksha, can you share with us that real life examples of what you guys have seen as high performers? Who are these characters, and how how they behave, or how and what they have done? A very quick fire. Sachitra, you can start.
Yes, actually, I have a very good example from our own HCLI channels, where we got this talent from the university as a fresh graduate. And he was absolutely stupendous in terms of his statistical and analytical skills. And what we did was actually at HCL, we believe that we groom people in such a young age to elevate to higher roles. We don't believe that, they have to come to a certain age to actually land a leadership role. So this particular individual started performing so well in terms of his role, and also he absolutely loves HCL. He's a brand ambassador. In fact, he's actually one of our buddies in our new joiners program as well. He is going beyond his role, and so it's for me that he's a perfect example. His name is actually Gihan Anthony. I should give him credit for that, because he not only does that, he actually helps HR in terms of process diagrams. He would come and ask us. He would help the induction team as to what sort of help he should be giving. So that is kind of the high performance that he's giving, and plus how he contributes to the organization. So they are actually committed, like I initially stated, as well as to themselves, to the work that they do, because they maintain high integrity. As well as they're committed to the organization that they are. So for me, people like Gihan actually set such good examples in terms of who high performers are.
So, Sachitra, I mean, see, this high performance, I mean, he's committed beyond boundaries. Am I right? This
That's
person
right.
committed beyond boundaries, correct? So, meaning, coming back to our topic, creating very flexible, diverse, empowering culture for a high performer. So, meaning the culture of HCL is giving him the liberty to be on that level. So, culture does
That's
have
correct.
an effect. Yeah. Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So, meaning this high performance people, or high performance as a fact, is culture related, is organization related, people's related. And Apeksha, I mean, if you share your case.
Yeah. So Dr. Harshan, let me tell you a good example from my organization as well for high performance and how they did it. So annually, we held an event to crown the best branch performance island-wide. And recently also we had a one, and one of my good friends was the manager of this particular branch. So after the event, I had a chat with her and she told me the whole story. So I'll share some highlights which will add value to this topic. When she took over the branch in 2018, it was a low performing branch. And after 2 years of her assignment, she made it the best branch at national level. And when I heard this story, I realized leadership has a major role to play when it comes to high performing culture. Obviously, the leader should be a high performer to drive the organization to its heights. And this is why organizations must invest in creating leaders rather than managers. And she didn't do any changes to her team, despite 2 natural transits affected by the organization. And I told you that the performance is a combination of motivation and ability with a clear focus. So this team had low motivation levels due to various reasons. And the manager, my friend, slowly built the trust among the staff and get them engaged and empowered using different tools and strategies. And that branch didn't have the cream of talent when she took over this branch. But managers sent them for trainings and developed their abilities to perform their job roles accurately. And to tell you how much she has motivated her staff, she was able to make her staff work voluntarily for more than 20 days in year 2020. And this branch is located, another fact is that this branch is located in a very competitive urban area. So it's kind of a red ocean. And so she looked for opportunities away from her branch and reach untapped markets. And she focused, plan, prioritize, and monitor the targets always. And of course, their targets achieving level also. And the main businesses came to her mostly through the referrals due to their service and through their relationships. So I think almost all the attributes of a high performer or high performing team is included in this story.
Sam, I mean, now we have 2 case studies already, and I want from you is that, I mean, I will open this to Sachitra as well. These high performers, do they face any barriers or do they have any issues with regards to of performing in organizations? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I've been very carefully listening to different thoughts here on this high performance or high performing, and then what does it mean, kind of thing. So I would like to, I take it slightly differently, right? So we have tried out multiple different models. Now, see, one model is about that you have a team, and one view that came up is you have a team, and you'll find out that there is this, I mean, whatever the metrics could be, that there are guys, who basically, excel, right? And then probably that might even, you can think it like a leaderboard who comes on top. And the words that we get to hear, in organization is top talent, right? Your 20% top talent or 25% top talent. Eternally, people are arguing about it, having those bell curves, and and that has to get defined. Now that is defunct. We have to go away with that things because it's not right, kind of thing. I mean, we have gone all these debates and spoken about all this stuff, right? But now we have a slightly different approach to this. Now, if I reflect what type of work we do, sometimes it's very difficult for you to compare. Because it's easy if you have everybody does sales and then you put together and then you're going to rate who are my top guys and who are the bottom guys. It's easy, right? But that is not how the business works, right? So especially, at least from a context of how we work like in Scrum teams, right? Most of the time. And of course, there are multiple different roles. You have a salesperson, you have a service person, you have a project manager, you have a business consultant, you have a developer, you have a quality assurance person, you have there are various different roles are there. Now, how are you going to basically get them into one platform and say this guy is better performing and that guy is not, kind of thing, right? So we take a slightly a different approach here. So I'm not talking about evaluation or anything like that here, but we think, everyone has capacity, capability. Okay, and we already know that this capability or this capacity, with various different things like coaching, mentoring, training, we can push the boundaries, we can stretch them. All right. So what we look at is, have all these guys are being challenged, right? So I mean, for an example, there are 4 of us here. So it's not about comparing Hashan versus Sam or Sam versus Apeksha or with Sachitra and I mean, if everyone must have basically achieved in their own area and excelled on their own area. It's about, when I look at it, am I being challenged? Absolutely. Am I being stretched? Am I being basically passionate, and I'm basically excelling in whatever I do. Now that might be not definitely a comparison between someone else, Hashan. So that point I wanted to kind of drive here. Okay, and also performance means different kind of meaning for different people as well. So it's not always, I mean, we have learned about these old theories of balance scorecard and all, right? From an organization point of view, also, it's not only profits, it's not only your processes or whatnot, right? The 4 quadrants or things like that. So even a person, it could be the same way, right? So that's the first one. But there was some other sub question you asked, Hashan. I missed that one. What was that you were asking about?
What I want to know is whether these guys faces barriers or issues.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, so some barriers that you will see is, whatever I have looked at, I mean, generally, is that there sometimes you call it this A talent, right? So they always wanted to keep on going. They want to have fresh challenges. They get bored with things, and so it's a I don't know whether there is a psychologist here. We say you are on a dopamine rush, right? So whenever you see something, you achieve something, it has this dopamine, which they call the neurotransmitter, and you are always on this run to get. And what happens is, it's just like a normal drug. After sometimes you kind of get attuned to it, right? You need more and more of that dose in order to keep it going. What will happen is you probably might be running too fast and might get exhausted, might be kind of at some point become depressed, right? Sometimes become unfair. I mean, we have seen some of these high performers even in other like industries, like music industry, or in other celebrities. They have achieved everything in their life, and suddenly you will see there is this gloomy period. And we have seen, I mean, I'm not telling that it will happen for all performers, but they will see
Sam, you're right, because Elvis was scared that he might go out of business when he grow old. That fear. He had that fear. Elvis Presley.
So that's why that balance is very important. So, Hashan. So one is, you asked me a question. That's why I told that, whether you see any prime, and then sometimes they will try to compete. They are highly competitive people. So sometimes competition at some point can be productive, particularly if it is a team sport that we play, right? So competition is important. Again, performance is important. But if it is going to be counterproductive to your teamwork, and if you think that it is harmful for your health, and you lose balance, right? That's where I think some of these barriers that I see and sometimes they even find it difficult to work with the low performers also, right? Now you become a manager, you become a leader. You will never find all the high performers in your team. And if you are a person who's a high performer, you expect the same thing from all the rest of the others in the team, right? And you will see it is not sustainable in an organization. So these are some of the thoughts that I can
okay. Thanks, Sam. Sachitra, I mean, from point of view of an organization, do you see any barriers that can affect this high performance? I mean, from a very HR point of view.
Yes, Sasha. Actually, I would first of all endorse what Sam has also mentioned. And I would definitely agree with the points that Apeksha and Sam both highlighted on. On the same note, I will break your question into two areas, two segments. One is from an individual's point of view. Now, if you take competencies as a whole, it's a combination of knowledge, skills, and attributes. And many organizations, almost all the organizations, have their whole performance appraisal run, and they have their evaluations where you have the job knowledge, quality of work, etc., that you evaluate based on the person's goals. But you also have something called the human skills, the other called attributes that will be evaluated. So the further you go in the career ladder, the lesser the job skills or the goals or the job knowledge is evaluated, and more of the attributes are being evaluated, right? So this says a lot actually in terms from an individual's point of view. Why? Is that attitude, how you communicate, how you carry yourself, how you can maintain this, how is your judgment, problem solving, decision making, how is your working under pressure, all this as an individual, how do you handle it as people? So like Sam mentioned, are you matured enough to actually maintain a balance is something which high performers actually have to be mindful of. That is from an individual's point of view. So from a organizational point of view, that organizations actually have to have a total paradigm shift in terms of investing on high performers. So and how they think of it. And I think Hashan, you mentioned at the start that when you are a high performer, people tend to look at you from a crooked eye and think you're crazy or something. So it's actually a top-down approach that has to come. So let me just give you one example from HCL. We have something called the ideapreneurship. So regardless of whatever the level or where you are in the organization, you can come up with an idea, whether it's a value creation, whether it's related to the processes, whether it's a customer-centric one, whatever. And actually, all the leaders promote this. And there's a monetary value. In fact, if your ideas are so good, people are actually, you can even patent it. And we have so many ideas that have been generated for the past 30 years that ideapreneurship concept is actually a culture now in HCL. It has been a culture where every year we ascertain people based on their ideas. So the high performers, not only on how they perform in their role, but what kind of attitude, talent they bring to the organization is also valued. Yep. So that is a culture from an individual's point of view as well as from an organization we have to look into.
Right. And also now, I mean, if you look at my own experience, I mean, when I was at TVS as head of marketing, we have this forum called the High Performance Paradise. So the guys who perform high will have, we'll have champagne and we'll have 5-star hotel treatment. So every time when a high performer comes in, he's been taken into the high performance paradise. Or if you look at in insurance industry, we have the MDRT circles where you can go to USA, Los Angeles, to take part in one of the conferences of MDRT, the roundtable of the guys who are in the insurance field. So now I have a question, Apeksha. I mean, if you look at national level, how to create a pedestal for high performance in a national level, I mean school level or university level, private sector, public sector level. Sam, Sachitra, you all also can contribute in a very quick form. How to create this pedestal of, creating a culture on a national level?
Yeah. Dr. Hashan, schools and education system has a huge role to play when it comes to, developing a high performer. And first thing is to understand that every child is a gifted child, but in different ways. And one may be good at science and the other one may be good at music. So we shouldn't push our children to do what they're not skilled or they're not
Capable.
passionate about. Yeah. So I was considered to be a bright student in my school, but I did ask for my A-levels, languages. I did languages and I got through it with flying colors. And I know many friends who did the same thing. And they all are high performers in their respective fields. So, yeah, so also I believe that to test the knowledge in schools, there should be assessments, but not exams. And at least until the child is 7 years old, the schools should teach and train these children to be emotionally intelligent and to be, disciplined and train them mannerisms and especially the cognitive skills. So accordingly, many structural and content reformations to be brought into the education system in Sri Lanka, and it's a must, I think. And in my view, the current education system is not supportive enough to unleash the full potential of a child. So the expectation of an education system is to make a good human, a person with both heart and brain. And I believe that a person who can be resilient in downturns and adversities. So in the current context, we are crying for social transformation, and because of this, country is not performing well. So, and the majority believes the solution is the social transformation, a lateral and a consistent systematic change. So what I believe is the change doesn't have to always begin on the streets or in the policy documents. We as corporates, we as professionals and organizations can bring even little changes to our society, and that will lead to major transformations in this country.
Right. Sam, national level on high performance.
Yeah, national level. Yeah, I also would like to take a similar stance on what Apeksha mentioned. So I think we need to have inspiring teachers, right, and role models. And you ask about schools and schools and kind of universities kind of thing. So I'm not going to make certain examples, but I'll tell you one example, right? But I'll kind of not share certain things because of certain sensitivities. So sometime back in 2004 or 2010, we did a program for these unemployed graduates, and it was funded by the government, and we managed to do it for them. So, they're being tagged as unemployed graduates, so they need to be groomed kind of thing. And we spent a 5-day program with them, residential program with them. And I managed to take a couple of lectures at that time. And they're wonderful people, right? And so the issue is about the role models, because most of these graduates came from sometimes from rural areas. So the successful people that they have seen is very limited. Okay, probably the most successful person that they have seen would be a Grama Sevak, right? I mean, that's a respectable position, but that is what they have seen. Or they have seen maybe their teacher in the school, but they have not seen a wider options, right? Different type of avenues they can take. Okay, so in my view, I think an inspiration, role models, that's one method we can basically awake at a national level. That is one. Second is I like to take something from my own life, right? That is now, of course, the most of the time, I got punished for talking in school. So I've been chased out. My teachers, they say you're noisy and all those stuff, right? And then again, I tried doing these sports, kind of different sports. None of these sports, I just go for 2-3 days, and none of those things works for me. So I played hockey, cricket, badminton, tennis, everything tried out, but nothing worked. But sometimes debating works for me, drama works for me, because the reason is that is in line with my passion. But then again, very limited. I'm glad my school had enough, opportunities. So I get an opportunity to take part in the debating team, Shakespeare drama, all those things. And my mother is a one who basically coached me and mentored me, right? I mean, she's not from the corporate sector or anything like that, but she's the one who used to help me with the speeches. She's the one who used to, listen to my speeches. Of course, my dad was working in the corporate sector, providing for us and giving all the good stuff. But then again, and when you moved out again, that's why I agree with Apeksha. So you do science, right? So everybody wants to do science, and then you are short of few marks to get into the medical college or something like that. Then you have only few options. You go through that and all, and then finally, it's not something you're passionate about. But when you look back now, I think the most passionate thing that I do is I love to read, and I like to go and teach other people, and I like to talk in various. I mean, that's why you're inviting me for this as well, right? Okay. So the thing is, good mentors, good coaches, and also what you're passionate about. Get those people to identify what they're good at, right? And then to say that you can become successful any of these areas, right? And one last point I want to mention. Now it is changing, right? Now you see the musicians now. The modern, in Sri Lanka also, the current musicians, I can bring certain names, right? They're engineers, right? They go to technology, they create, right? The videos, the art, right? No, I think it's changing, but at a national level, what we need to do is we need to probably, we have to make sure that we accelerate that, and that acceleration will happen from that ecosystem. Right, just like in Stanford and those areas, the Silicon Valley is an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
To create that ecosystem. That's
right.
my.
So, Sachitra, I need a view from yours as well.
Yes, well, I think there was a lot of personal experience. So I'll just take a little example from my organization. We are a program which I really am passionate about, which is called the TechB program. So it's in line with what exactly this is about, which is how to have a pedestal from a national level. So in line with grooming and getting more youngsters passionate for the technology and ICT industry, we brought in this program called the TechB, where those who are interested can apply for the program, where the company, HCL Tech, would sponsor their education. And they will also give them the opportunity to work for a global company, such as HCL. And during this time, they will also be trained by professionals on their competencies, as I mentioned, the skills, the knowledge, as well as the attributes. So because we are encouraging people from all walks of life, in every corner of Sri Lanka, to join this TechB program. And some may be as not communication-wise, they might not be up to par. In terms of attitude-wise, they might be introverts as opposed to being extroverts. So there are different people. So all these, we mold them from a young age and build them up to become better leaders, so that they don't have the culture shock when they go to a certain level. And so that is the TechB program is something that we really invest in from HCL, that we do. And another thing apart from the TechB program, which we also do, is something called the Sparks initiatives. So the Sparks are actually our own HCLites, where we give them like different opportunities. For example, there are people who are absolutely passionate about gyms and going bodybuilding and all that. And we've said, look here, this is a welfare initiative. Start off a welfare initiative to develop health, fitness, etc. So apart from doing their core role, they are also encouraging cycling, gymnasiums, and building their good fitness, etc. There's also people who are passionate about photography and all those. They are, apart from their job role, they're also doing that. So these are actually school levels who are developing to become ICT leads one day, who are actually doing these roles. So they have a balance. We believe that balance is key. And I think even in our school level, that is something which we were taught. I mean, I actually was coming from one of the leading schools in Colombo, where I was not exactly, I was actually a late bloomer. So I was very much into, like Sam also mentioned, I was very much into extra activities and very less into the classroom. So actually these foundations, these things that we did were actually the stepping stones, and I think it should be encouraged more and more. And programs such as this TechB program, I think we should have it not only limited to IT, but for all other industries as well, and also organizations where we can groom them. By just doing an industry expectation at the school level for a one-day session will not really encourage them or make them open their eyes to what is there. So having this continuous learning would actually help them and support them. And that is what organizations, that's their CSR should do. That is my view on that.
Super.
Yeah, sorry, is it okay if I add in 30 seconds?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
See, you asked about the national level, country level, right? So I think I can't remember exactly. I think it was Hofstede or somebody who has done this culture for a national culture, and and they say normally the national culture has an impact into organizational culture, so does to the other things, right? That's how it flows. So. Correct. One thing is that we children, I mean, this is a good value, right? I'm not trying to challenge our value system as a country, but then again, we as children, we are very safe, right? We're not being given, I mean, we've been taken care of our parents, and we have a longer childhood, right? When the other countries, maybe 14 years, 15 years, they become a little independent, but we have even up to 28 years or 26 years, we are very protective. And what happens is with that comes sometimes is performance, taking decisions, right? I mean, that's how you mature. All right. I mean, sometimes you don't go and, get your child to go and, buy something from the shop or something like that, thinking that they'll do a mistake. But obviously when you go, I mean, we'll say a young person going and, giving, those days I used to say 100 rupees, but now I can say 300 rupees, okay, for a loaf of bread. So you have to go there, you have to select that, you need to take the balance, and you need to come and basically settle it to the parent, which is accountability. So there's a lot of things that you learn. So one example I learned from this Richard Branson's book, I think Losing My Virginity or something, when I read it a long time back, is that he told that his mother used to drop him when he was a kid, 1 kilometer from the house. And ask him to figure out to come, but she will protect. But at the end of the day, you will allow him to come. So that's how we should also kind of, as a nation, should not make them too comfortable. We have to make them figure it out. Just a thought came into my mind. I thought probably it will be.
Very true. I mean, to add to that, I mean, three of us are basically not prisoners of gravity. That's the encapsulation. I mean, even at school, I was never a guy who was in the classroom. I was totally out of the classroom, been punished a lot of times because I was not attending classes, but all my notes were written by someone else. But
I hope it's not a mixed school where your girlfriend wrote all the notes.
I mean, see, if we become prisoners of gravity, I mean, මට ගොඩක්ම කිව්වේ සම්පත් මේ එක තැනක ඉන්න බැරි ගායක් තියෙනවා මේ ළමෙක් කියලා. පස්සේ තමයි තේරුනේ I'm not a prisoner of gravity. So if you are a prisoner of gravity, you are just planted to the ground all the time, and you feel like if you lose gravity, you'll float.
So you're trying to say it's a misfit, right? It's a misfit, right?
Misfit. That's the argument. That's what I want to say. That I mean, our topic is this of creating a very flexible, empowering culture, diverse for a high performer. But these high performers always been seen as an extraordinary set of people, and some people look down on them. Some people look up to them. I mean, as mentors. I mean, if you look at people like Sergey Bubka, who's broken his own record on pole vaulting more than 10 times in Olympic Games. Now, my question is, I mean, pole vaulting is a sport where you put a pole into a particular place and you jump over a kind of a bar, which is, even if you raise a millimeter, that's a huge gap from your old record. But Sergey Bubka broke his own record more than 10 times on Olympic level, right? Now, what on earth has got into him to break his own record 10 times and being a pole vaulter? I mean, if you look at Usain Bolt, he practiced 364 days to run on 9 seconds on one day. I mean, these guys are absolute high performers in the sense, next level guys. Now, if we become like that in Sri Lankan culture of organizations where we have this very traditional mindset that you come at 8 o'clock and you go at 5 o'clock and you just be with these guys and, do something and get out of it quickly and then be with your family. But that's not the case in the global arena, So what I want to know from you three, as we are not prisoners of gravity, high performance learning from global to local adaptation. Apeksha, I need an answer from you. High performance learning from global to a local adaptation. How should we go about it? කොහොමද අපි ඒ high performance කියන එක global level එකට ගෙනහිල්ලා ඒකෙන් කොහොමද අපි ගන්න local adaptation එක? Apeksha? Oh, you're muted. Okay, now you're on. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I think as Sri Lankans, I think we are lazy people. Generally, we are lazy. We are not like others. We always would like to stay in our comfort zones. And very few people will go beyond our comfort level and challenge, as Sam mentioned, and they challenge themselves and challenge the status quo. And they just want to try things, as I mentioned earlier also, they just want to try things. But Western cultures are not like that, not like our cultures. They give the opportunity for performers, and they identify performers from their early childhood, and they train people to achieve certain objectives from their childhood. But Sri Lankan culture is totally different, and we were brought up in a way, generally we were brought up in a way like to listen something and to do our exams, and then it's kind of a parrot education, right? So ultimately we get this low performing employees, average performers or low performing employees in our organizations, because we were not brought up in a way that is expected by the corporate world. So I think there are a lot of examples in the global arena. If you look at companies like Coca-Cola, the top companies, Apple, and these companies are always have a specific culture, and they admire people. They have a different plans to identify this talent, identify the high performers, and they use these high performers in a way to achieve their company objectives also. Okay. So I think that of course we have to learn from them and get that into our organizations, get that into our cultures as well.
Right. Sachitra, from a global perspective, how can we bring it to a local adaptation?
Yeah, actually, Ashan, I was actually, when Apeksha was also explaining this, I couldn't help but smile a little, because I had about 3 to 4 months back, I was having a chat with one of the seniors of HCL. He's having close to 30 years of experience, and he's an Indian national, but he has been across the world. And he was telling me, Sachitra, why do you think India is far ahead? Not to praise, not to toot the horn of India, but he was just saying, why do you think India is progressing and Sri Lanka is still there? And I didn't answer because I was so curious to ask as to what his point of view was. And he said, just like something that Apeksha mentioned, but he, in a more diplomatic manner, he said, you guys don't try enough, right? And you guys love to gossip. And these were his exact.
Absolutely.
These were his exact.
You're hungry. You're hungry.
Absolutely.
That is because for them to get into a train, it's a fight, right? Sometimes not for us. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also he said, you guys have so much of potential, but I don't know whether it's your humbleness, or whether you all are shy, that you all don't go and say it out loud. And you know what? He made sense, because as I progressed, as I got to started observing, I realized we are losing a lot of opportunities. The Sri Lankans are losing a lot of opportunities in HCL as a whole, for countries like Mexico and Romania and Philippines, believe it or not, right? We were actually really good in terms of technology, but we are actually being superseded by countries like these. And why is it? Because they are very, very good in terms of, their commitment, their passion, and they do not give up. So, and also they are committed to their work, as well as committed to the organization that they do.
Absolutely.
So one thing I see in with this current situation, with the inflation and everything, is we have these freshers. I mean, this is not just centric to HCL. This is actually an industry issue that we're having. So when I participate for all these forums in these IT and HR fraternity forums, one of the things always they ask me is, how do you retain talent when they're always going for the higher pay and all that? See, what people don't understand is that why we are losing so much and we don't have the competitive advantage as opposed to countries like Mexico and Romania is we are so much after the money and the pay and that spot reward, that instant reward, right? Like Sam mentioned, the dopamine rush that we get, that we forget the big picture. We go for A, B, and C, but we don't see A, B, C as a whole. So that is something from a school level, from a junior level, we have to grow. And that is something that HCL is committed to do it. Because just going back to, again, quoting Sampath, what he said was, most of these students, these juniors, they've seen the Grama Sevaka, or else, again, another thing I got to know is the doctor in their villages as the most prestigious person. If the doctor or somebody drives a car, they have a mental picture saying, okay, I want to buy a car. That's all. I want to build a house. That's it. But other than that, everything else is blurred for them. So I think the commitment to their work, the commitment to what they are really passionate about has to be developed from a very young age. And most importantly, integrity is key. So that integrity is something that we need to build. I mean, for example, I'll give you the very simple example before I hand it over. Let's take a traffic light, for example. How many of us stop when the amber light comes? How many of us don't push over? That shows integrity, in my opinion. As in this is my personal view. We don't, right? We don't have that simple thought of stopping when the amber is there. We go on, and that shows integrity.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about Indians, I mean, I always take Virat Kohli as the most fittest player on earth so far, beating all the cricketers so far. I mean, one interviewer asked why you are so fit and why, because very less injuries. If you look at his career, he hasn't had any injuries so far. I mean, he is continuously playing. So he answered that it's all commitment, it's all hard work, and I mean, in the recent history, Sri Lankans, we started hating Virat Kohli as because his arousal, the way he expressed himself and all that. But today, he is the most fittest cricketer on planet Earth. I mean, we have so much to learn from all these examples of from the global arena. Since we have 4 minutes to go to wind up the whole thing, Sam, I mean,
global adaptation. So I'll make it very fast. Yes, I also need to attend some other event. So let me take see who controls the world. If you ask, right, for cricket or whatever, right, even the global giants, anyone, who controls the world? I always ask the guys who have the tools. I mean, from from those days on, the hunter-gatherer's time also, anybody who get a competitive advantage, whether it's a human being or a company or anything, is they who made better tools and who had better techniques, right? So even in sports, the same thing, even in an organization, same thing, anything's like. I'll tell you one simple thing that I have realized. See, they send me into one of these, to become little posh. They send me into one of these, what you call grooming classes. And they taught all, I asked them why you need, so my parents first said, you go and learn this, right? And later on, some company also sent it to us. But the moment when I go and sit there and this grooming person speaks to me, I realize one insight came to me, right? That is, for each different thing, they have a tool. For an example, for the soup, there is one. Then for the, for something, there is another different fork. And there is a shorter spoon, bigger one, the different cups, different glasses, right? So it talks about their thinking, right? It talks about their thinking. That means for each small thing, each and every, tiny thing. We always say, we eat from our hand for anything. Okay, that is good. That is our culture. I'm sure still it's very tasty, right? Sometimes we wanted to eat from our hand because it's tastier. But then again, look at the thinking, right? Thinking is about using the right tool for the right thing. So they teach you that. That is discipline. And even you look at golf players, you go there, you have how many sticks, like 17 or 20, I don't know the number, but you need to pick the right club or the right tool, depending on the situation. Okay. Right. So in my view, what is I have seen from a global that need to be adapted to the local is, we need to have some diligence in, our thinking patterns in, creating tools, making it more organized, making it more process driven, making it more long term, right? Because our guys are very creative fellows. I have worked with so many different, as Apeksha mentioned about, or Chitra mentioned about Indians, but Singaporeans, they all say, right? They're very smart people. So our guys are very smart. They're very creative. But something that they don't have is this level of discipline and kind of creating them. So I think if you're looking at a global adaptation to locally, probably that is something that I would be focusing on.
Right. Thanks, Sam. We have just 5 minutes to go to wind up the whole session. And I want to ask a very quick answers. We are I don't want to use the words, I don't want to use negative words to describe where the country is today. Well, we are in a spot of a concern, let me put it that way. Otherwise this whole session will go down if I put those drastic words of negativity. We are in a spot of a concern. We know all the reasons, no point of looking at it, and we know the reasons, right? How come organizations foster high performance?
Okay, can I go first? Because I
okay.
Make it quick. I know when I say this, I get blasted and kind of shot by the others. But probably this crisis is one of the best that happened to us. The reason is we've been comfortable, and now there is a situation where you can't even take the loans for the country, and you can't sometimes do certain things, and you are in a situation where you need to come out of it, right? And it's easy for me to say because I'm probably least impacted than the masses, which I'm very empathetic towards. But then again, yeah, we need to really look at that as well, jokes apart. But I think sometimes you only stand up and you become resilient, and you become you become your best self when you are being when you are being put it into a situation like this. Otherwise, again, I'm quoting from Apeksha, you're in a comfort zone until you shake the thing and you take out and put it only, you will suddenly see. And we have seen those things in all those Arangalayas and all those stuff, you see, right? I'm not going to go there because that can be a little sensitive, but you can see.
Just stay there.
Right? Stay there. I'm not a supporter or not a supporter, by the way. There is nothing to do with that, but you'll see all these revolution, change, disruptions, everything happens when you're being faced with a difficult situation. So for me, I always look at it as an optimistic and a positive thing for us to change. Unless otherwise we become a little comfortable again and you go back on the normal route earlier. All right. Because sometimes the habits continue. Right?
Okay.
All right, I need to drop off. Is it okay, Hashan? Because I'm
yeah.
to
I
attend to some.
know. I know
So
your
you
schedule.
for that. Thanks, Apeksha, and thanks, Achitra. It's been a wonderful discussion. I'll be in touch with you as well in the future. And
Thank
thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you, Sampath. That's Sampath Rimavitarna from Vatusa, the evergreen Sampath. Thank you, Sam. We look forward to seeing you again. Apeksha, over to you. Can in this, I don't want to use the words, negative words, is this spot of concern that we are in, as Sam described, one of the best situations that we are in today with regards to the whole country. Can organizations sustain high performance?
Yeah, I'll call it a VUCA context, much better in a formal way. Yeah, so as a result of this situation, people have started migrating or leaving the country for employment, as that is, we all know. And so by now, we may have loosened some of the high performers who went abroad finding opportunities. But still, I believe that we have many. My concern is, Hashan, how as a nation, how are we going to use these high performers to rebuild this nation once again? And so it is up to every organization to have a plan, a proper plan to retain the high performers, and use them wisely in this scenario. So on the other hand, we are trying to control the uncontrollable or blaming others. I think it's a time for us to look at this crisis as an opportunity, as Sampath mentioned, and to review our business models as an organization for our weaknesses, and look for better models and opportunities, and realign our businesses with the current requirements of the market. And same thing can be done as individuals. We can review our past performances, we can review ourselves, and we can find the weaknesses of ourselves and threats, and then and sometimes as an organization, we may have to work collaboratively as an industry. And because when we get together as an industry, we may able to find solutions for our common problems during these hard times. And as an individual, we may need to, as an organization and as an individual, once again, we may need to unlearn and relearn. And also, we may need to reskill and upskill to survive in this market, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. See, unlearn and relearn, right? And empowering the culture of an organization to create a high performer. Sachitra, we have just hit the timeline. Your thoughts on how to sustain a high performer in a very concerned time.
Yes, I'll make it very quick due to the interest of time. So I think one thing that the COVID pandemic taught us is to adapt to a new normal. Just like that, I think endorsing what Sampath also mentioned, this situation, this unstable situation that we are in also can be looked at as the glass half full rather than the glass half empty. Correct. Actually, we Sri Lankans look at the glass half full, empty all the time. Instead, we should look at it the other way around. And another thing is, instead of we talk about the system changes, I think during the whole past X number of months, we got the whole system change word as a buzzword. So I think the system change should start off with individuals, team levels, organizational levels, national levels as a whole. And that system change should happen with our performance building as well as our potential building. As now we are there, also we mentioned, and Apeksha mentioned about, migrating and all. We have these migration birds going from season to season. But, we have a lot of people who are committed to stay back and work for the nation. So we should help as organizations, as a nation, to build their competencies, to build their performance and potential, so that, they can reach greater heights and they can support and give that return on investment to the country, to the organization. So that is my thought in that.
All right. We have students listening to this. I know few of the new students from the new batch that we just recruited are listening to this. academics listening to this, business people listening to this, business leaders, entrepreneurs, SMEs listening to this. I know that there's going to be post-view also going to come into place. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the bliss of creating a diverse, flexible, and empowering culture for high performance. The pre-webinar of IRCBM 2022, which is going to happen on November 25th from the SLTC Research University. It's going to be a mega event that we are going to place on the campus that is going to happen in Padukka, our main campus. Today we are coming live to you from the Trace Expert City in Maradana, where the Business School of SLTC is located. An International Research Conference on Business Management 2022 is going to be one of the biggest events that SLTC Research University is going to have. It's been headed by the Business School of the Evergreen Business School of SLTC Research University. So we are going to conclude pre-conference webinar, episode number 2. Thank you very much, Apeksha, Sachitra, and of course, Sam. It was a brilliant 1 hour to spend with you guys as high performers. I know personally how you all became high performance. We were not from a different planet, but we are from this planet, which we created our own space and we moved up in the ladder and we're still moving up. So the entire webinar, if I encapsulate it to one, it's about resilience, it's about mindset, it's about attitude of an individual, right? That he or she can shape an organization's culture or can get in and reshape the organization's culture. We have done it and we have gone through it, and there are performers out there who's really changing and challenging the existing status quo of bliss of creating a very diverse, flexible, and empowering culture for high performance. So with that note, we are ready to conclude the very successful pre-conference webinar, episode number 2 of International Research Conference on Business Management, which is going to happen on November 25th. So with that note, thank you very much once again to all the speakers, all the listeners, and the audience. It's good night from Business School, Trace City Expert, Maradana. So good night, have a lovely dinner, and enjoy the rest of the night. Thank you very much.